What's going on, everybody? David here, back with another video. So today we're going to talk about hazard pay and the fact that hazard pay is not in this bill and how this is just a tragedy. It is a tragedy. I think that and I'm talking just about the stimulus package, okay? I'm not talking about everything else that's going on with COVID-19 and all that. I'm talking about just the stimulus package, the negotiations. I think one of the biggest tragedies of the negotiations is the fact that hazard pay is not even talked about. That is the biggest tragedy. And I was happy to see in the HEROES Act, the first HEROES Act, the one that was approved on May 15th, it had hazard pay in there. And I thought that that was good because it showed respect for the people who have been there on the front lines this whole time. I'm talking about police. I'm talking about fire. I'm talking about people who work in hospitals. And I'm also talking about people who work in the food industry, grocery stores, restaurants, food plants, all those people. They deserve hazard pay. And we should be looking at hazard pay for those people just like we're looking for stimulus checks for the American people, just like we're looking for unemployment insurance benefits. We should be looking at hazard pay. And I'm hoping that when President Biden, President-elect Joe Biden, when he becomes president, that he focuses on that, because I think this is really important, and it's one of those things that we should not just let go. So we're going to take a look and a listen to and I have his title is a little long. So he's the president of United Food and Commercial Workers Union. And I want to take a look at this because this is interesting, and hopefully it'll open your eyes to just the struggles that are going on when it comes to people working in grocery stores and people working in food packing plants and things like that. So that's what we're going to do. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please hit the like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. Also, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell notification. That way you'll get notified anytime we put out a video. All right, so let's go ahead and get to the video.
Hey, joining me right now, the president of the United Food and Commercial Workers, Mark Perrone. Good to see you, Mark.
Good to see you, Frederica. How are you today?
I'm doing okay, but this is tough because every time all of us go to the grocery store, we have to be reminded how much grocers are putting on the line by interacting with the general public. But what are you hearing from members and about their fears, their concerns, what they are putting on the line to make sure that everyone can get their groceries?
They are afraid. In fact, they're afraid to bring the virus home to their families. Quite honestly, we had a death on the floor of one of the Fred Meyer stores in the Northwest where they did not let the workers know that the person had been infected. They did, in fact, 3 people tried to revive the individuals. They didn't know that he had coronavirus, and ultimately now they're concerned that they may have it as well because there wasn't enough transparency. Wow. So they're very afraid.
What needs to be put in place? What kind of protections do you think need to be put in place? Is hazard pay enough, or is it hazard pay at a minimum is your hope that would be reinstated?
It'd be hazard pay at a very minimum. I think that the first thing that needs to happen is that employers, regardless of the type of employer that it is, ultimately needs to notify workers when they have a positive test inside those units. Whether or not it's a food packing, food processing place, or whether or not it's in a retail food store or a pharmacy or a nursing home, people need to know if, in fact, one of their coworkers has tested positive and has COVID. That is the only way that we're going to be able to make sure that we don't transmit that disease, because as you well know, people that are associating with each other on a daily basis, they drop their guard, and ultimately they can be infected with the virus as well. In addition to that, if in fact they're going to be taking these risks, and risks that they take every single day when they go to work, they should in fact receive, higher pay for those risks, because we know, just from the basis of what we've been seeing, a lot of these hospital bills after somebody's been in there for quite some time, has been upwards of $70,000, $75,000. So even if you were to get, hospitalization at 90%, That's still $7,500 if they had to pay 10% of that bill. So
that's a lot of money.
Hazard pay, quite honestly, should be at the front of the line, as well as making sure that the governors in the states, and I know that the CDC has recommended it, but the governors in the states place those frontline essential workers in the same position at 1B as the CDC did. Because if, in fact, they don't do that, I've got real concerns that other people that don't necessarily have to go to work every day, that can sit in their homes and do their jobs from their houses, might somehow get pushed to the front of the line. And these workers who had to expose themselves to the customers and to the lack of transparency that they're seeing may not be able to get the vaccine as quickly.
Yeah, you want to make sure they are able to get the vaccine as soon as possible. And real quick then, Mark, what can all of us shoppers do, to help ensure and make sure that all of those on the front line in those grocery stores, you mentioned the litany of professions and jobs in the grocery store, what do we all need to do to make sure that they remain safe?
I think that we need to wear a mask when we go in those stores. I know that at times it may be uncomfortable, it may be a little bit difficult to do, but we need to protect those workers by wearing those masks, and we need to make sure that we keep our hands sanitized. That is the first thing that we can do. And if, in fact, they ask you to put the mask on properly, pull it up over your nose, please don't get aggravated at them. They're just trying to protect you, the other customers, and themselves in the process.
Right. Mark Perrone, as you say, it's incumbent on all of us to just simply do the basics, right, during this pandemic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Frederica, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well.
Okay, so that was a union leader there, and I didn't want to interrupt him. I wanted him to go ahead and get his points out there, but we will talk about a few of the things that he was talking about. One thing he was talking about is notifications. Now, this is important. So if you're working in an environment and let's say one of your coworkers that works near you gets infected with COVID-19, you should know the fact that you could be exposed. In my job, they do that. So if I'm working and someone near me gets COVID-19, they're going to let me know, okay, you could have potentially been exposed to COVID-19. Even though they're not going to tell me who the person is, they're just going to let me know that, hey, you might want to go get tested because you could have come in contact with someone who has COVID-19. So that's a big thing, especially if you're working in close quarters where you're working side by side with different people, maybe in a food packaging plant or something like that. You need to be in a situation where you know that someone could have potentially gotten COVID-19 and you need to follow some steps. So that's one thing that he talked about that I think is I mean, it's a no-brainer. That should be happening. The hospital bills. Now, this is something that's big because this is something that is not being talked about. I'm glad that he mentioned it because all we're thinking about right now is, and you hear some politicians saying this, well, if they don't have a job, then we'll give them unemployment benefits, but we don't want to give them stimulus checks. That was the first argument, right? And then they said, okay, you know what? We'll give them $600 stimulus check. But when you're looking at it, the argument was if you were able to maintain your job, then you don't need any additional money. Well, how many people are in a situation where they know someone, a family member, that got COVID-19? And some of them were hospitalized, unfortunately. And if they go to the hospital, now they're looking at different bills. And like he was saying, you could have a bill of $70,000 or $75,000. Well, sure, if you have insurance, your insurance is going to pay for some of that, but it's not going to pay 100% in most cases. And so now you're looking at a situation in the example that he used, $70,000, and the medical insurance pays for 90%. So now you have $7,000 that you owe. And if it's a family member, then you guys are all going to suffer because of that. And you're all going to have to try to help pay that back. And this same person, they might be out of a job in a situation where if they get COVID-19 and they're not able to go back to work for whatever reason, especially in a situation, if you go to the hospital and you're there, you're not just going to come back and in 2 weeks later, you're going to be ready to go back to work. There are a lot of cases that we're hearing about right now where people are having ongoing issues due to COVID-19. So That's a very important thing to get out there. Politicians need to know, look, it's not just about, oh, I don't have a job, that's why I need unemployment benefits, but this whole stimulus check thing is not a big deal. No, it's a big deal because it's helping with situations like this. In situations like this, you could lose your house over this or lose your apartment because you owe $7,000 and you can't afford to pay it back. So it's a big deal. And then just the last thing, just talking about this whole thing when it comes to hazard pay. Like I said, it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that this was just left. It was not seen as a priority. And, I'm hoping. I mean, we see all this money going out to all these different programs. The PPP program, we're seeing stimulus checks. Yes. We're seeing unemployment benefits. We need to see hazard pay as well. It's just the right thing to do. It's the right way. It's a way to show respect for the people who have been there helping us get through this, because a lot of us have had the luxury of being able to work from home and things like that. So if you have that luxury and you're able to work from home and you're able to just order different delivery services to come bring food to you and all this stuff, we need to show some respect to those people who are bringing that food to us and working in these grocery stores when we go in there. So that's all I have when it comes to that. One more thing, I am seeing a trend now. You're seeing politicians come out. We just saw, and this was just announced a few minutes ago, that the bipartisan group, so the $908 billion, that group, the one that created the $908 billion proposal, they're calling on the president to either sign the bill or veto the bill. But do something. Don't just hold off and not do anything, because people are suffering as a result of this. And so you're hearing more politicians coming out and say, just sign it. Sign the bill. It has a $600 stimulus check in there. That's fine. What they want to do is they want to amend that in a sense, basically create a new bill, standalone bill, $2,000 stimulus check, and then wipe out the $600 stimulus check. So you'll get $2,000, not $600. So you're not going to get $2,600. You're only going to get the $2,000. But $2,000, everybody wants $2,000, right? So if the president just signs the bill, you can get those other things going. And then we'll worry about the stimulus checks tomorrow when they go ahead and vote for a $2,000 stimulus check. So we're seeing more and more politicians come out and say this. Just sign it. Just sign the bill. Sign it or veto it. If you veto it, it gives Congress a chance to override that veto, but at least give them an opportunity to help the American people, because right now the American people are not being helped by the president not moving on this. So I want to know what you guys think. So in the comment section, let me know down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.